I want to share the story behind the life values method because this didn't just appear overnight, it evolved. Back in 2016, Jacqui and I were living in Canberra. I was working as a business analyst in government and Jacqui was a school counsellor. And we made a decision to leave and hit the road. That wasn't impulsive, it was a values-based decision. We both wanted more meaning, more adventure and more autonomy. More time to build something that mattered. So we asked ourselves, what do we really want? What really matters to us? And these were the early seeds of life values. We were aligning with them, but to be clear, we didn't have a compass yet. But we were building something. And when we returned to Bendigo for stability, Jacqui's work took off, quickly specialising in couples counselling. And around that time, I'd been doing life coaching training with arcology, and values work was the theme that really stood out for me. It was also featured in books I was reading, like Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. But what I noticed was this: values exercises were powerful, but they were often abstract or aimed only at the individual, and they lacked a depth that I could sense was there beneath the surface. So Jacqui and I started creating simple values exercises for her couples. Sure, we used things like the top 10 values lists and reflection prompts, but the shared relationship values exercises really hit the spot for Jacqui's couples. And we knew we were onto something when couples explored their values, shared them with each other, and used them in session with Jacqui's therapies. You see, things became calmer. There was more understanding and the penny dropped. Clients became less defensive and they were more reflective and curious. So instead of arguing about surface issues, they could shift gears and talk about what actually mattered, and that helped restore connection. And through researching and refining, Jacqui and I developed the Life Values Card Deck, a fun, interactive tool that couples and individuals can use in all sorts of ways, from sparking conversations to exploring your top values. There are many powerful ways to use the cards. Then, in 2023, we refined the deck again with new boxes and professional print production. Alongside that, we updated the Life Values Workbook, and we also created a new ebook, Life Values Mastery. This included more exercises and more advanced concepts. We also added new guides and articles to the website, connecting values to vision, planning, and couples communication. I created power combos in our monthly newsletter. And everything kept evolving with use and feedback from real couples and clients. Something was brewing, and there was an explosive turning point. One evening, over about 2 hours, I sat down and poured out ideas that had been forming in the background for years. More than 20 exercises and ideas just came out. Now, they were forged from a mix of influences. Our work with clients, my training with arcology, Jacqui's training with Terry Reel's relational life therapy, books, frameworks, and our own lived experiences, all coming together. And over the next 12 months, those ideas were refined, and finally the Life Values Method was born. Structured, expanded, refined, useful, and powerful. The Life Values Method now includes 40 distinct exercises across areas like personal development, relationships, leadership, business, and culture, and it can be adapted to almost any niche or topic. But something was still missing. It needed something that could bring the whole thing together, something that would help you see what was going on, something that grounded the work and kept it real. And that's when the Life Values Alignment Grid emerged. The life values alignment grid was inspired by Terry Real's relational grid. But this wasn't about couples, this was about individuals, and it needed to be universal. I settled on two axes, responsibility on one axis and values clarity on the other. And as I explored the quadrants and unpacked what was happening in each one, traits started appearing. Behaviors became clear. Mindsets began to reveal themselves, and something happened that I didn't expect. It became deeply personal. As I was creating the grid, I could see moments of my own life inside it, and I started tearing up. I could see times when I'd acted recklessly, times when I avoided painful decisions, and times when responsibility was distorted, times when values were compromised. And at the time, I didn't understand what was happening. But through the grid, I could see it. I could see the times I'd been in each of the quadrants. And as emotional as that was, it was also enlightening and exciting. I knew I was onto something powerful. Over several months, I refined the grid, and something unexpected happened again. The language started emerging. Patterns were revealed, links between behavior, emotions, identity, and values started appearing. It was getting pretty full on. So to keep it contained and useful, I boiled it down to what mattered most. And the result was a powerful grid with 4 clear quadrants, 1 center of health, and 12 personas, and a language that ties it all together. Mapping the traits of each quadrant revealed a few key things. First, my own personal moments in those quadrants. Second, the patterns that form and how people shift between them. And third, an important question. How do we get back to center? And that's when it dawned on me. This grid could be a map and a compass in one. A way to understand where we are, where we tend to go under pressure, and what helps us return to a center of health. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just another coaching diagram. It was a tool that anyone could use to understand themselves without shame. And just like Terry Real's grid is incredibly helpful for couples, this grid is helpful for individuals. By locating yourself on the grid, you can understand moments of suffering without judgment. And by seeing how you move around the grid, you can understand the drift for much needed clarity and insight. When you combine the grid with the exercises from the handbook, it helps people find their way back to center. Another thing I found fascinating was mapping well-known characters and public figures onto the grid. Now, I don't have time to explore all that today, but it's incredibly insightful. It's a fast way for everyday clients to see the traits of each quadrant. It makes the concepts human and relatable, and I'll talk more about that in another video. So let me share how Jacqui and I actually use values in our own lives, because this isn't just theory. In 2023, when Jacqui and I decided to buy a property on the Mornington Peninsula, we used values to guide our decision making. The values helped us step outside our comfort zone and go after what we really wanted, but in a wise and considered way. And every year since 2020, we've created a vision board and talked through our values to make sure we're moving in the right direction. And sure, it's far from perfect, but the intention is there. And there's meaning behind our work and our sacrifices. We use values in our end-of-year reviews, and we use them in our weekly couples catch-ups. They're part of how we make decisions and understand each other better. And one more example. In 2024, when I suffered a serious back injury, I used values again to guide my recovery. I defined a top set of values for effective repair, and I followed them diligently. They became behavioural anchors, They kept me aligned and disciplined so I didn't slip backwards. That's real-world application, directly based on values. So hopefully this video has given you a clear understanding of how values work evolved into the life values method, and how Jacqui, our clients, and I use them in real life. So what does this mean for you, the practitioner? The life values method is real. It's emerged from real lived experience and real client work. Now you get to take all of that work, packaged into one clear system, and bring it into your own practice. It's been used to make real life decisions, to understand real mistakes, to unpack real emotions, and to create real breakthroughs. You see, values are universal. They're woven through every part of our lives. And that's why this work is so powerful. It's not a new age concept, and it's not a 5-step magic formula. Values underpin how we live, whether we recognize them or not. So as a practitioner, if you integrate values thoughtfully into your niche, whether that's relationships, leadership, health, career, business or teams, it becomes a powerful foundation underneath the work you already do. And now, as a practitioner, you have a decision to make. Will you become a life values method practitioner? Will you help your clients to do their deepest work through values? And if the answer is yes, then there's one clear next step, and that's to check out the Life Values Method Practitioner Kit. Inside, you'll find the full handbook with over 40 exercises, a complete chapter on using the Life Values Alignment Grid. There's the virtual deck for use with clients in session, and a video training series to help you get up to speed quickly, and so much more. You can find all the details on my website through the link below, and I'll leave you with this. If you sort out your values, you sort out your life. And that's not just a slogan. It's been my lived experience.